I moved out to Silver Lake for one thing: quiet. After 20 years as a Coast Guard mechanic and another 15 teaching shop class to high school kids, I was done with noise, schedules, and people telling me what to do. My little slice of heaven was a beat-up cabin on the water's edge. Nothing fancy, just a one-bedroom with a sagging porch and a private dock stretching out into the lake like a hand reaching for peace. That dock was my church where I'd sip coffee at dawn, fish with my grandson Tommy, or just sit, listening to the water lap against the wood, my mutt Rusty snoring at my feet. For years, nobody messed with me. The neighbors were far enough away, and the HOA? They were too busy nitpicking about mailbox colors or who left their Christmas lights up past New Year's. I figured I was safe out here on the lake, my deed ironclad, my dock grandfathered in from way back in '79. Then came Linda Harper. She rolled into the neighborhood like a storm cloud with a power suit. Her silver sedan always parked just a little too close to your driveway. Her Bluetooth headset blinking like she was running a call center instead of a suburban HOA. Within weeks, she'd bullied her way into the HOA. President spot nobody ran against her. And yeah, I didn't vote, that's on me. At first, she was just annoying, sending out letters about community standards, finding folks for untrimmed hedges or trash cans left out on a Tuesday. I ignored it. My cabin sat on the edge of the HOA's jurisdiction, my dock fully mine, backed by county records I double-checked when I bought the place. But one chilly March morning, I spotted her sedan creeping along the dirt path by my property, idling just long enough to make Rusty perk up and growl. I brushed it off, figured she was just nosy until the letter arrived. It was from some lakefront oversight committee, a group I'd never heard of, claiming my dock was encroaching on shared community shoreline and needed HOA approval or I'd face fines. Fines! For a dock older than half the houses around here. I tossed the letter in the fire pit, but the pit in my stomach grew. A few days later, I caught Linda walking the trail across the lake, snapping photos of my dock with her phone, her eyes locked on it like a hawk circling prey. I kept my cool, sanded down a rail, earbuds in, pretending she wasn't there. But the emails kept coming polite at first, then sharper, each one calling my dock an unauthorized structure on shared natural space. Share my ass. I pulled out my survey maps me lot stretched 15 feet past the dock's edge, clear as day. The county confirmed it, too. My dock was untouchable, grandfathered under rules from before Linda was probably born. But she didn't care about facts, she wanted control. One afternoon, I was pruning my roses when I saw her again, this time on my dock. She'd hopped the low fence I kept locked, strutting out there like she owned the place, clipboard in hand, scribbling notes. "Hey," I called, striding down the hill, Rusty trotting behind me. "That's private property." She spun around, flashing a smile that could curdle milk. "Oh, just checking for shoreline compliance, Mr. Dawson. Routine stuff. Get off my dock," I said, voice low but steady. "I'm authorized by the HOA." She chirped like that meant anything. "One more step, and I'm calling it trespassing." She froze, sizing me up, then sauntered off, but not before snapping one last photo of the dock, of me, maybe even of Rusty. That night, I called my buddy Mike, a lawyer who'd dealt with HOA nonsense before, and the county clerk. I wasn't playing her game, I was building my fortress. The next morning, I dug through my files, deed, surveys, old photos of the dock from '95, even a letter from the guy I bought the place from, swearing he'd maintained it since Carter was president. I scanned it all, backed it up, felt that old Coast Guard focus kick in not anger, but something sharper like lining up a shot in a storm. Linda thought she could steamroll a retired old man with a few letters and a clipboard. She had no idea who she was messing with. A week later, I caught her on my dock again, bold as brass, filming it like she was Spielberg, her heels clicking on the planks. I didn't yell this time. I walked down, calm, deliberate, Rusty at my side. "Linda," I said, "you're trespassing." She barely looked up, still filming. "Just documenting for the HOA's lakefront review, Mr. Dawson. We've had complaints." "From who?" "You." I shot back. Her smirk faltered just for a second. I pulled out my phone, snapped a photo of her standing there, and her face changed like I'd flipped a switch. "What are you doing?" she snapped. "Documenting you," I said, "just like you're documenting me." She stormed off, her sedan kicking up dust, but I knew this wasn't over. I filed a trespassing report with the sheriff, included the time-stamped photo, and waited. Sure enough, the HOA hit me with 3 letters: a violation notice, a cease-use order for my dock, and a $750 fine, due in 30 days. I laughed, but it wasn't funny, it was war. Mike and I drafted a cease and desist letter, sent it to Linda personally, certified mail. Her response? A new Silver Lake Preservation Task Force, with her as chair, demanding I halt dock use for an environmental impact study. I installed a motion sensor camera by the shed, and 2 days later, it caught her 6:15 a.m. sneaking onto my dock, planting a laminated sign. "Under review. No use allowed." I ripped it down, called her out as she sped off in her sedan. "You'll hear from us," she yelled, like a cartoon villain. I was ready. I didn't just sit there, I went on the offensive. I printed 30 copies of my documents, maps, deeds, county stamps, a cover letter laying it all out in plain English. I walked door to door, handing them to neighbors, most of whom had no clue what Linda was up to. They were stunned. Old Mrs. Carter said she thought Linda's preservation flyers were about litter. Jake, a water district guy, shook my hand, said he'd seen HOAs pull this crap before. People started talking, texting, dropping off pies and thank yous. One lady, Sarah, told me Linda had fined her $300 for a backyard slide for her disabled daughter. The tide was turning. Then the county stepped into guy showed up, checked my survey pins, and handed me a letter confirming my dock was 100% mine, no HOA jurisdiction. I mailed copies to the board just to rub it in. Linda doubled down. The HOA newsletter called me a disruptive resident, but I had a bigger card to play. I called a local news station, pitched the story. Retiree fights HOA over dock older than their bylaws. A reporter named Tim came out, filmed the dock, interviewed Jake. The story aired, short but brutal, and Linda's one-sentence response, "We're ensuring fair lake access," sounded like a dodge. The next day, an HOA board member quit, emailing me an apology for staying silent. But Linda? She kept coming. My camera caught her at midnight, just standing on my dock, staring at it like it had personally insulted her. Rusty growled at the screen. I knew she was planning something. Then came the morning I'll never forget. I was sipping coffee when I heard gravel cruncher sedan rolling down the path toward my dock, engine idling, brake lights glowing. Linda stepped out, phone up, filming, muttering about violations. I watched from the porch, something feeling off. Then her car Mavita's slow, eerie roll forward, tires kissing the dock's edge. "Linda!" I shouted. "Your car." She didn't hear, too busy narrating her little video. The sedan lurched again, now on the dock, creaking under its weight. She spun around, eyes wide, and sprinted to the door locked. She fumbled with her keys, screaming, "No, no, no," as the car rolled, nose first, into the lake. The splash was deafening, water gushing, papers floating, her clipboard sinking like her pride. I called 911, calm as I could manage. A car just rolled into the lake at 112 Lakeview Lane. Driver's safe, but it's gone. The sheriff, fire crew, and a tow truck showed up, neighbors gawking, phones out. Linda, soaked and shaking, sat on the shore, yelling it was my fault, my unsafe dock. The deputy watched my footage her leaving the car in neutral, no parking brake, and shook his head. "This is on her," he said. They hauled her sedan out, dripping with muck, a sad, soggy wreck. That night, the HOA sent a weak email about a vehicle malfunction, but the neighborhood wasn't buying it. Support poured in texts, casseroles, even a crayon sign from Tommy, Grandpa's Doc Rocks. The board held an emergency meeting, and Linda resigned, citing personal stress. They suspended all lakefront rules, promised a bylaw overhaul. I was asked to join a new resident committee. I said yes, but only if every rule needed a community vote. They agreed. A month later, Linda's lawyer sent a letter claiming I owed $12,000 for her car, blaming my doc. Mike laughed, said we had her dead to rights. We filed a counterclaim, harassment, defamation, the works. In court, I laid it out, the trespassing, the fines, the videos. The judge, a no-nonsense woman, didn't blink. This is a clear case of intimidation, she ruled, awarding me $10,000. Neighbors in the courtroom cheered. Linda didn't look at me. She just left. The lake's quiet now, the way I always wanted. I built a new bench at the dock's end, carve October 25 underneath, not for victory, but for standing firm. Neighbors stopped by now, Jake with his chili, Sarah's daughter, splashing in the water. The HOA's different, open, fair. Linda's gone, house sold, no goodbye. I wonder what drove her fear, control, some old wound? I'll never know. But as I sit here with Rusty, Tommy casting a line beside me, the water sparkling under the sun, I feel something deeper than peace. It's the weight of a community that found its voice, a dock that stood its ground, and a fight that reminded us all what home really means. So what do you think? Ever dealt with a bully like Linda, or seen a neighborhood stand up? Drop a comment. Share your story. I am all ears, and so's Rusty.